This is the behind the scenes of my experience at St. Elmo Steakhouse in Indianapolis. This is probably my biggest collaboration I've ever done with anyone because it was a giant partnership between me, Renee of Honest and Unbiased, and St. Elmo Steakhouse and Gen Con. What this video was supposed to be was me coming in before Gen Con to get a lay of the land, to then showcase it when we were at Gen Con to tell people like, hey, they're open for lunch and these are the prices you can expect and this is what the ambiance is and you can wear your cosplay, it's totally okay. Or no, don't wear really big things because it's very tight here. And I just wanted to showcase that. I wanted to try the food. I wanted to tell people if it was worth it or if it wasn't, because it's a steakhouse and anyone who's going to Gen Con is probably on a budget at that point because they're spending all their money on games. I also wanted to see for myself if this was the kind of place that I would actually go to. I'm a regular person. I consider what it feels like when I walk in. Am I going to feel like I'm underdressed? Are people going to treat me well when I walk in? Or are they going to ignore me? I think my thought on that is that if I'm not comfortable here, the community of people that I hang out with and talk with and showcase things to will also not be comfortable here. But on the flip side of that, if I do walk in wearing some Gen Con garb, if my hair is dyed purple and I am welcome, then that is definitely the place I want to showcase. I fully intended to release the video about my experience showcasing all of the food at Gen Con or a little bit before, just to kind of get some information out there for people who were in town. Clearly that did not happen, and there were a few different reasons for that, but the biggest reason was because there was a much bigger story here. If you don't know who I am honest and unbiased at all times, so whether I'm in a partnership with somebody or not, I will be gracious with my experience, but I will always tell you the truth. And the truth is they really care about hospitality. They really care about your experience. They do everything with such intentionality that I could not fit all of that information in a 30-second clip. It would feel disingenuous. It would feel like it was lacking because it would be. I spent the majority of my time with Chef Carl Benko, and he's actually the reason why I wanted to do this longer type of video, because I think he is a really good representation of what they do really well at St. Elmo. Now, I don't mean just like skill set, and yes, the food is excellent, but it's that level of hospitality and kindness and generosity and just patience that I felt when I was with him that helped me to really gauge what a community they have working here. And for me, that's the kind of behind the scenes stuff that I want people to know about. I want you to know that there was a young man who was leaving to go to the sister restaurant next door. And, you know, Chef Carl Benko was like, oh, hey, you better come back. And the kid was like, yeah, I will. And he learned so much there. And the chef wasn't bitter or angry. He was encouraging him and he was razzing him and he was being a good human to somebody who was leaving him. And I just thought like, wow, that is an amazing interaction. And everyone I met was, hello, how are you? And do you need anything? And how can I help you? I mean, there were people who were leaving for the day and they stopped by my table just to say hello and to tell me what they enjoyed about working there. The restaurant industry isn't easy. Being waitstaff, being somebody who cleans, being a sous chef, being a head chef, any of those things is really difficult. And for people to be smiling the entire time, I almost felt like maybe this was just too good to be true. And the longer I sat with the chef and the longer I had conversations, and when I told him I didn't eat seafood and I asked him questions about how I should do it the right way so I don't look terrible on camera, his response was always gracious and patient and usually do it how you want. And in the kindest way. There was no level of judgment here. We talked about our families. We talked about how this food was prepared fresh, how the salad was made, and how there was probably a lot of bourbon in that, and how I was so full and kept eating because the food was that good. When I tried the shrimp cocktail, I wasn't sure what to expect, and I said, I do not eat seafood. I don't know what I'm doing. And he said, you're doing great. And he was so encouraging. And there was a moment where I actually teared up here because it felt so overwhelming to be so welcome in an environment that I didn't know I would be this welcome at. Because again, I'm just a regular person representing myself and Gen Con, and I don't know anything about a steakhouse. I don't know what proper etiquette is. I don't know enough to feel like I fit in, but that doesn't matter here because you fit in. Now, if I can talk about the food outside of just going on about the chef and the staff, I will tell you, I love this drink. This is the Elmo Cola, and yes, it has a lot of bourbon, and it was excellent. This cheesecake is the cheesecake of my dreams, and it is just phenomenal. I don't know if it's the raspberry sauce because it's so tart and how it mixes so well with the sweetness of the cheesecake, but it is probably the best piece of cheesecake I've ever had. Now, I did start with the shrimp cocktail, and the horseradish sauce made it really, really tasty for me. There wasn't a hint of that seafood flavor. Everything was really clean. Everything was cold. There was nothing rubbery. It was very flaky, which I didn't know shrimp could be. And I actually would probably get it again. Both the New York strip and the filet mignon were cooked to perfection. When I took a bite of the mashed potatoes, there was this big, delicious glob of cheese that that was the epitome of mashed potatoes for my life. The green beans were fine. They were flavorful and they were crisp, but nothing compared to anything else I ate. I did try the sliders, which included a shrimp po' boy, which was perfectly crisp and had a really good sauce. Also a Wagyu slider, which come on, with a piece of brie on top, I don't even have words. And the filet mignon bite. The first thing I was handed was this really nice iced peach tea, and I am biased because I do love peach. The last bite I had was that amazing wedge salad you just saw me eat. And I was very full when I was eating it, but the mixture of flavors from the blue cheese dressing to the crispness of the iceberg lettuce. I didn't even know you could do that with iceberg lettuce. And those chunks of bacon, everything about this salad was just so good. From beginning to end, everything here was more than I hoped it would be, more than I expected it to be. And an experience that I don't think I'll ever forget. I hope I was able to accurately portray what this experience was for me. And if you happen to be at Gen Con next year, or if you just happen to be in town in Indianapolis, consider stopping by here. Make sure you mention my video so they'll give me more cheesecake.